walking through an international airport and you look over and you see a poster for a missing child, and then you learn that the child was probably sold into human trafficking. This probably would make you sad but not directly affect you. But what if you saw the name on the poster and it was the same one as a little brother or sister or a close loved one? That would probably make the feeling a little more personal. This is what happened to Christine Kane, who is an evangelist that works with the Passion Conference, and she writes about this in the book, Passion, the Bright Light of Glory. She looked over while she was at an airport to a poster, and the little girl on the poster had the same name as her daughter, and it made her think, what if it was her daughter? And it made her want to do everything in her power to find that little girl and make sure she's safe. We usually think of human trafficking as something that only goes on in third world countries, but the reality is it happens a lot in the United States. So today I'm going to tell you about the problem of human trafficking in the United States, the policy that can be put in place to help stop human trafficking in the United States, and what the future will look like if this is put into place. So in order to tell you the problem of this in the United States, I'm first going to tell you a definition. On the enditmovement.com, it defines human trafficking as trafficking involves transporting people away from the communities in which they live and forcing them to work against their will using violence, deception, or coercion. And the End It Movement is just a website where a lot of nonprofit organizations came together to help raise awareness for human trafficking all around the world. Also on this website, it has a lot of statistics, and one of them is that in the United States alone, there are over 200,000 victims of modern-day slavery and human trafficking. And when I saw that, I was blown away that in our own country, there's this much of this going on. The first time that I heard about the End It Movement and really was impacted by human trafficking in the United States was at Passion, whenever they told us about the website, and then when I got home, I researched it a little more, and all the statistics were just very heartbreaking that this is going on in a place that we love, or that we live in, and that we call home. So these children, or there's a lot of children and adults involved, and whether they're being sold into just manual labor or the sex trade, they're losing their innocence, which will eventually cause a downside in society, because while they're losing their innocence, they're having an interruption to their psychological development, which will impact them in the future, and these are America's future leaders. So you might be thinking, how does this directly affect you? And it probably doesn't affect you directly, but what if it was your younger sibling or your future child? Then you would want everything in your power to be done to stop this. And also, like I said earlier, it does affect society and will cause a downside in the overall product of the future. So offenders of human trafficking usually get their victims by telling the victims that they can provide a better life for them, and that if they go with them, it'll be a lot better than the conditions that they're currently living. And by the time that the victims realize what they're in, it's too late to get out. These victims are afraid to ask for help because they're scared of what might happen to themselves as well as their loved ones. But this is where we can come in. Now that I've told you about the problem of human trafficking in the United States, I'm going to move on to the policy. There are current laws against human trafficking, which is good, because if there weren't laws here, then I think that we would have a bigger problem on our hands about this country. So the current law in Texas is human trafficking is a second-degree offense, a second-degree felony, which means that if you're caught, you get 2 to 20 years in prison, and unless the victim dies or it is a child under the age of 14, in which case it's a first-degree felony, and they will suffer 5 to 99 years in prison. So even though these punishments are strong, the issue is still here. So there should be a policy put in place saying that all offenders of human trafficking should be charged with a first-degree felony, and the victim of human trafficking should be placed in witness protection as well as their entire family to keep them safe, and given psychological care to help get their life back to normal as much as possible. Since this offense is so serious and is still going on, the punishment should be just as serious. And although child human trafficking punishment is serious, this should be the case for the whole thing. The government is aware that this is going on, and on the FBI's website they have an entire section dedicated to human trafficking. And they say on that website that they are working hard, and this may be true, but the fact is that the issue is still very strong. So with this policy, I believe that human trafficking in the United States will decrease. Now that I've told you about the policy that should be put into place, I'm going to tell you about the future and what this will look like if it is put into place. I think we can all agree that the world is a very corrupt place, and America is certainly no exception. So if we had a chance to make it better, why not do it? This policy would make America a much brighter place and a just better place to live in overall. There would be more people off the streets that are involved with human trafficking and locked up for a longer time. So look at this map. This is the potential human trafficking cases reported in the United States. And this was found at polarisproject.org, which is just another website that raises awareness for human trafficking and modern-day slavery. When I saw this map, I was completely heartbroken at all the points of intensity on here and how there's so much of it going on. And at one point, it's where I grew up, which is mind-blowing to me that I didn't even know that this was going on around me. So what if you looked at this map and it was gone, and there would be no more children on the streets and just no more human trafficking going on? That would be a wonderful world to live in. It would also, if human trafficking was gone, it would help society because there would not be as much interruption in psychological development. And plus, human trafficking is just morally wrong, and I think that if we can do anything to get rid of it, that we should do that. So in conclusion, I hope you have a better understanding of the human trafficking in the United States and how it has an effect on us. I've told you the problem of human trafficking in the United States, a policy that should be put into place, and what the future will look like if this is put into place. Think back if you had a loved one that was a victim of this. You would want everything to be done to get them out of that and to end it overall. This is an issue that needs to be changed, and although it is way bigger than one person, with the help of the government and a group of people that are passionate about it, it can be changed. Thank you.